What if the stories you've always heard about Elvis Presley were true? This time his family has come out, and what they have told is even more shocking than anyone thought. The king of rock and roll left behind a legacy that has never been forgotten. But even after decades, some parts of Elvis's life are still untouched and hidden from a common person. People are still curious about the secrets of his death and his presence after his death. So, today, we reveal the shocking truths that Elvis's family told recently. If you don't want to miss these truths, click the subscribe button and turn on the notification so you never miss any future episodes.
What if I told you that the king of rock and roll had more secrets apart from drugs that have been hidden for decades? For years, we've heard whispers. But today, we get the facts straight from someone who was by his side during those iconic moments. That's right, Elvis Presley's personal bodyguard. Sonny West is here to reveal the untold truth. Get ready for a tell-all like no other. Sonny West was more than just Elvis Presley's bodyguard. He was also a close friend and someone Presley could trust. Their connection went beyond the normal one between an employer and an employee. They respected each other and shared experiences. West often thought about how complicated their friendship was. He knew that Elvis could be annoying at times, but that their love of music always brought them back together. Sonny West has shared his unique view of Elvis through his books and public performances. The stories Sonny West has to tell about Elvis are filled with surprises and insights that reveal a side of the king of rock and roll that few have seen. So let's begin with Dixie Locke. Dixie Locke Emmons was Elvis's intimate girlfriend and one of his closest pals. Dixie was dating Elvis Presley in 1954, but her favorite artists at the time included Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and Peggy Lee. Elvis was lured to Locke's church, First Assembly of God, because he enjoyed gospel music and the Blackwood Brothers Quartet, which performed at the church. Elvis was still an aspiring artist who worked hard to establish himself. Dixie was a high school student at Humes High School, where Elvis also studied. Their bond was instant. They had a love of music and a zest for life, which brought them together. Elvis was known for his charm and charisma, which drew Dixie in from the beginning.
As their relationship blossomed, Elvis and Dixie quickly became inseparable. They spent countless hours together, often going to movies, attending concerts, and enjoying each other's company. Elvis would serenade Dixie with his songs, showcasing his budding talent. Their romance was marked by typical teenage experiences, sweet dates filled with laughter, joy, and dreams for the future.
During this period, Elvis's career began to take off. With hits like That's All Right and Blue Moon, he gained national attention. Despite his growing fame, Elvis remained devoted to Dixie. He often took her along to events when possible, introducing her to the world of music and stardom. Their bond seemed unbreakable as they navigated the challenges of young love together.
Dixie was not only a supportive girlfriend, but also played a significant role in grounding Elvis during his rise to fame. She provided him with a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos of celebrity life. Their relationship was characterized by deep affection and mutual respect. They shared dreams of a future together. But as Elvis's career skyrocketed, their relationship faced inevitable strains. The pressures of fame began to take a toll on their connection. In 1956, after Elvis's breakout year, he became increasingly busy with tours and recording sessions. The demands of his career left little time for personal relationships. Dixie found it challenging to cope with the changes in their lives. While she supported Elvis's ambitions, she also wanted the simple moments they once shared, quiet evenings spent together without the interference of fans or media. The couple attempted to maintain their relationship despite these challenges. However, the distance created by Elvis's hectic schedule proved difficult to bridge. In 1958, after 4 years together, Dixie and Elvis parted ways. The decision was mutual, but painful for both. They realized that while they loved each other deeply, their lives were heading in different directions. Elvis was about to join the U.S. Army, which would physically and mentally separate them even more. Next, the affair with Joyce Bova. Joyce Bova's relationship with Elvis Presley intertwines romance, ambition, and the complexities of fame. Their journey began in 1969 when Joyce, then a 24-year-old staffer for the House Armed Services Committee, met Elvis during a vacation in Las Vegas. The meeting took place at one of his iconic shows, where they were instantly drawn to each other and marked the beginning of a passionate yet tumultuous affair that would last until 1972. Joyce was attracted by Elvis's charisma and charm, while he found her intelligence and beauty alluring. Despite being married to Priscilla Presley at the time, Elvis and Joyce began seeing each other frequently in various cities and even at Graceland, where they shared intimate moments away from the public eye. In her memoir, Don't Ask Forever, My Love Affair with Elvis, Joyce details their passionate encounters and the deep emotional bond they developed over their time together. As they got closer, Joyce wanted a life with Elvis that included getting married and having kids. She often thought back to the times they talked and how he showed love for her and talked about their hopes for a future together. But the fact that Elvis was married hung over their love story like a cloud and made it harder to believe. Elvis didn't want to fully commit because he already had responsibilities as a husband and father to Lisa Marie Presley, but Joyce wanted a regular family life. The relationship took a significant turn when Joyce discovered she was pregnant with Elvis's child. This was really a shock to both of them. In her memoir, she recounts how she ultimately decided to have an abortion without informing Elvis, fearing that his reaction would be negative due to his views on motherhood. During one conversation, Elvis expressed disdain for women who had children, stating that once a woman became a mother, she lost her allure. This conversation deeply affected Joyce and made her question their future together. Despite these challenges, they continued to see each other until 1972. However, as time went on, the toll of Elvis's lifestyle began to weigh heavily on their relationship. His increasing struggles with substance abuse and declining health created an emotional distance between them. Joyce witnessed firsthand the changes in him. He was no longer the vibrant star she had fallen in love with, but rather a man grappling with addiction and personal demons. As Elvis's health got worse, Joyce finally made the hard choice to end their relationship. She could no longer take seeing him fall further and further apart because of his drug problems. As she wrote in her book, they stopped talking to each other as much after they broke up, which was a sad end to a very intense romantic period in both of their lives. After parting ways with Elvis, Joyce moved on with her life. She married an engineer named Mark Cameo and shifted her focus away from the limelight that had briefly enveloped her during her affair with the king of rock and roll, Anita Wood. Confidence, steadiness, and moral backing. Elvis Presley and Anita Wood's relationship is an interesting chapter in the king of rock and roll's life. Their love story began in 1957 when they met through a popular television dance show in Memphis, where Anita was a performer. Interestingly, when Elvis initially asked her out, she declined because she had another date. However, he persisted and eventually won her over, leading to a serious romance that lasted several years. Anita quickly became a significant part of Elvis's life, often referred to as his number one girl. Their relationship flourished during the late 1950s and continued throughout Elvis's 2-year military service in Germany. During this time, they maintained their bond through letters and phone calls. They were committed despite the distance. Anita was deeply integrated into Elvis's world, even becoming close to his family, especially his mother, Gladys Presley. However, the dynamic of their relationship began to shift when Elvis met Priscilla Beaulieu in 1959. Priscilla was only 14 at the time, and their relationship would later become controversial due to the significant age difference. While Elvis was away in Germany, he started seeing Priscilla secretly, which would ultimately lead to tension with Anita. The situation escalated when Anita became aware of rumors regarding Elvis's relationship with Priscilla. In 1962, Anita got the letters from Priscilla begging Elvis to let her visit him, Anita confronted him about the affair. Elvis downplayed the situation, insisting it was just a friendship and asking her not to jeopardize his career by making it public since Priscilla was underage. Despite his reassurances, Anita's suspicions grew. She overheard a conversation between Elvis and his father that revealed he was torn between the two women. Heartbroken and feeling betrayed, Anita decided to take control of her life. In a poignant moment filled with emotion, she told Elvis she was leaving him after realizing he could not choose between her and Priscilla. Despite attempts from both Elvis and his father to convince her to stay, Anita stood firm in her decision. She left Graceland that night, knowing it was a definitive end to their romance. After their breakup, Anita moved on with her life and later married NFL player Johnny Brewer in 1965. Although she never returned to Elvis as a romantic partner, they remained on good terms over the years. Priscilla Presley, the passionate affair. Elvis and Priscilla Presley shared a complex and captivating relationship that began in the late 1950s and evolved over the years into a marriage filled with love, challenges, and ultimately separation. Elvis first met Priscilla Beaulieu in September 1959 while stationed in Germany during his military service. Priscilla was just 14 years old at the time, attending a party hosted by a friend. Elvis was immediately taken by her youthful charm and beauty. Despite their age difference, Elvis was 24, they began dating, with Priscilla's parents reluctantly allowing her to spend time with him. Their relationship blossomed through letters after Elvis returned to the United States in 1960. Priscilla often sent him pink envelopes to stand out among his fan mail. By 1963, she moved to Memphis to be with him, completing her education there while living at Graceland. Elvis proposed to Priscilla just before Christmas in 1966, and they married on May 1, 1967, in Las Vegas. Their wedding was quick and somewhat unconventional, reflecting the pressures of Elvis's fame and lifestyle. They welcomed their only child, Lisa Marie Presley, 9 months later. Initially, Priscilla embraced her role as a traditional wife, caring for Elvis and managing their home. However, as time passed, she felt increasingly overshadowed by Elvis's career and lifestyle. The couple's relationship became strained due to Elvis's alleged infidelities and Priscilla's growing desire for independence. By 1972, both Elvis and Priscilla had affairs. Priscilla with her karate instructor, Mike Stone, and the couple decided to separate. Priscilla expressed that she needed to explore her own identity outside of being Elvis's living doll, as he had often shaped her appearance and lifestyle according to his preferences. Their divorce was finalized on October 9, 1973. Despite the separation, they maintained a close relationship for the sake of their daughter and continued to express love for each other. Priscilla later reflected that she did not leave Elvis because she stopped loving him. Rather, she needed to discover herself beyond their marriage. She noted that their bond remained strong even after their divorce, emphasizing that they still cared for each other deeply until Elvis's untimely death in 1977. Linda Thompson, the committed carer. Elvis Presley and Linda Thompson's journey together was marked by intense emotions and personal struggles. Elvis first met Linda Thompson in July 1972 at a private screening of a film in Memphis. At the time, Linda was a 22-year-old beauty queen, and their attraction was immediate. Elvis approached her with charm, assuring her that he was no longer with Priscilla Presley, his former wife. The chemistry between them was palpable. They spent hours together that night, kissing and cuddling in the darkened theater. Within weeks, Linda was flown to Las Vegas to see Elvis perform, and soon after, she moved into Graceland. Linda described their connection as one where they were everything to each other: lovers, friends, and at times, caregivers and patients. Elvis was drawn to Linda's perceived purity. She had never been involved with drugs or alcohol, which contrasted sharply with his own struggles. During their 4.5 years together, Linda became an integral part of Elvis's life. They shared many memorable moments, including attending his historic Aloha from Hawaii concert in 1973, which was watched by millions worldwide. Still, their union had its ups and downs. As Elvis's health started to get worse because he was taking more drugs and living a bad life, Linda had to take care of him. She watched over him a lot at night because he had trouble sleeping and other health problems. She felt drained by this emotional weight. By late 1976, cracks began to show in their relationship. Linda suspected that Elvis was seeing other women, which caused her significant distress. In November of that year, she confronted him during a visit to San Francisco. Despite Elvis's tearful assurances of love and loyalty, Linda felt compelled to end the relationship. She told him that if there was another woman involved, he needed to be honest with her. Linda's choice was influenced by a number of factors, including the emotional exhaustion she experienced as a result of caring for someone who was engaging in self-destructive behavior and the realization that she was unable to compete adequately with the other women in Elvis's life. Just a few short months before his terrible death, on August 16, 1977, they decided to end their relationship. Following their split, Elvis quickly moved on to a new girlfriend, Ginger Alden. Tragically, he passed away shortly after their breakup. Linda received the heartbreaking news from Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's daughter, who called her immediately after her father's death. At his funeral, she was one of the first people acknowledged by Elvis's father for her role in his life. The love with Sheila Ryan. Elvis and Sheila first crossed paths in Las Vegas. Sheila, who was then a rising star and had recently been named Playboy's Playmate of the Year in October of 1973, was introduced to Elvis by his friend Joe Esposito. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Sheila found herself swept off her feet by Elvis's larger-than-life persona and the glamour that surrounded him. However, being with Elvis came with its own set of challenges. Despite the initial excitement, Sheila often felt overwhelmed by the expectations placed upon her as Elvis's girlfriend. She later revealed that she struggled to understand the nature of love and romance as defined by someone like Elvis. While he attempted to create romantic moments, Sheila admitted that these gestures sometimes felt uncomfortable rather than romantic. Their relationship was put under more stress as a result of Elvis's busy lifestyle and stardom. Sheila claimed that she did not feel completely honest on her part. She was taught by Elvis's pals how to behave around him, which left her feeling like a fraud at times. Sheila acknowledged that she suffered from that feeling. The fact that their relationship was distinct from others that he had encountered was something that she valued despite this fact. The fact that she did not exhibit any signs of jealousy or demand made it possible for them to keep an open conversation about his prior relationships. As their relationship progressed, the pressures began to mount. Despite their chemistry and shared moments, Sheila eventually realized that she needed more stability than what their whirlwind romance could provide. The couple's breakup came about due to these mounting pressures and differences in their expectations for the future. Sheila expressed that while she cared deeply for Elvis, she felt it was necessary to step back from the relationship to regain her sense of self. Ultimately, she left him after about 2 years together. Sheila would go on to marry actor James Caan in 1976, WH. So this was all about the lavish life of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Before you go, please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos like this. Was Elvis serious in any of his relationships, or was he simply a playboy? Let us know in the comments.
Oh, yes.
What is it?
It was extremely special. It was very strong.
You'll be shocked to know this. Elvis gifted Anne-Margret a grand, round, pink bed crafted just for her as a symbol of their love. No, this is not shocking. Here's the shocking element. Once enraged by her husband's affair, Priscilla, Elvis's wife, furiously threw vases at them. But it is nothing. Now Anne-Margret admitted in her book that their affair destroyed Elvis's marriage. So what was the entire matter? Next few minutes will make it clear. Anne-Margret's early life was full of experiences that shaped her journey to becoming a star in both acting and singing. Born on April 28, 1941, in the scenic village of Valsjöben, Sweden, she was raised in a close-knit family. Her parents, Gustav and Anna Olsson, instilled in her the values of perseverance and creativity. Growing up near the Arctic Circle, surrounded by serene forests and lakes, gave her a peaceful yet inspiring childhood. At just 5 years old, Anne-Margret and her family made a big move to the United States after World War II, settling in Wilmette, Illinois, near Chicago. Adjusting to a new language and culture was no small feat for young Anne-Margret. Her father had already spent some time in the U.S. before returning to Sweden, and in 1946, he brought his family to America for good. By 1949, she had officially become a U.S. citizen, marking the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Anne-Margret's journey to stardom began early, with a natural flair for the arts. She quickly stood out in dance classes at the Marjorie Young School of Dance, and her mother, always her biggest supporter, handmade costumes for her performances. As a teenager, Anne-Margret dazzled audiences in school plays and local talent shows, revealing the star power that would soon take her far beyond her hometown. At New Trier High School in Illinois, she continued to shine in theater, but it wasn't long before her love for music took center stage. After graduating in 1959, she enrolled at Northwestern University to study speech, but her true passion couldn't be ignored. Teaming up with friends, she formed the jazz band The Subtle Tones, played in Chicago clubs, and eventually landed gigs in Las Vegas. It was there, in the City of Lights, that fate stepped in. Legendary performer George Burns spotted Anne-Margret during one of her Vegas shows and immediately recognized her talent. He invited her to join his 1960 Christmas show, which launched her into the Hollywood spotlight. With that golden opportunity, RCA Records came knocking, and soon she was appearing on shows like The Jack Benny Program. Her first movie role came in Pocketful of Miracles, 1961, where she held her own alongside stars like Bette Davis and Glenn Ford. But her big break came in 1962 when she performed the Oscar-nominated song Bachelor in Paradise at the Academy Awards, captivating over 40 million viewers. That same year, she shone at the State Fair, proving her incredible singing abilities. And then came Bye Bye Birdie, 1963, and Viva Las Vegas, 1964, where her sizzling on-screen chemistry with Elvis Presley sparked rumors that still fuel Hollywood gossip. Anne-Margret wasn't just about movies. Her 1961 single, I Just Don't Understand, hit number 17 on the Billboard charts, showing her talent had no limits. Over the years, she racked up 5 Golden Globe nominations, winning 2, and earned Grammy nods. With over 6 decades in the spotlight, Anne-Margret's legacy as a Hollywood icon remains as vibrant as ever. Anne-Margret's dual personality reveals the complexity of her character both on and off the stage. While she is widely recognized for her glamorous and bold performances, particularly in roles like Emily in State Fair, her true self is quite different. In 1962, Anne-Margret starred in State Fair, a remake of the classic Rodgers and Hammerstein production. Initially, she was considered for the role of the sweet and innocent girl, a character that aligned with the wholesome image Hollywood often preferred for young actresses at the time. However, her undeniable sex appeal and vibrant stage presence led director Jose Ferrer to cast her as Emily, the fiery and seductive bad girl of the story. This decision marked a pivotal moment in Anne-Margret's career, as it allowed her to break free from the mold of the good girl and embrace a more daring persona. The character of Emily was not just a departure from innocence. She was bold, confident, and unapologetically flirtatious. Anne-Margret's performance was electrifying, showcasing her ability to captivate audiences with her charm and charisma. The transformation from good girl to bad girl also reflected Anne-Margret's own journey as she began to embrace her sexuality and allure on screen. Despite her on-screen persona, Anne-Margret was known to be quite shy and introverted in her personal life. Growing up in Sweden and later moving to America, she faced challenges adjusting to a new culture. She often described herself as reserved, finding it difficult to express herself outside of performance. This introversion stood in stark contrast to the bold characters she portrayed. In her autobiography, Anne-Margret candidly discusses this duality. She explains how performing allowed her to unleash a different side of herself, one filled with confidence and vivacity that was often hidden away in everyday life. On stage, she transformed into a captivating performer who could command attention with her sultry voice and dynamic dance moves. Off stage, however, she preferred quieter moments, enjoying solitude and reflection. As Anne-Margret continued to rise in fame throughout the 1960s, she became known as a sex kitten, or the female Elvis, drawing comparisons to Elvis Presley himself due to their chemistry on screen during films like Viva Las Vegas. Her bold performances became iconic, but they also came with pressure. The expectations placed on her by Hollywood often conflicted with her more reserved nature. Despite these challenges, Anne-Margret learned to embrace both sides of herself. She understood that while she could portray sultry characters on screen, there was also strength in being true to who she was off stage. This realization allowed her to navigate the entertainment industry while maintaining authenticity. Anne-Margret's ability to switch between being a bold performer and an introverted individual made her relatable to many fans. They admired not just her glamorous roles, but also the vulnerability that came through in interviews and personal reflections. This duality has become an integral part of who she is, a talented actress who has entertained audiences for decades while remaining grounded in her true self. As we continue exploring Anne-Margret's journey through Hollywood, it becomes clear that this balance between boldness and introversion has not only shaped her career, but has also endeared her to generations of fans who see their own struggles reflected in hers. Margaret's relationship with Elvis. An interesting story about love, desire, and the complicated side of fame is the one between Anne-Margret and Elvis Presley. They became closer while shooting Viva Las Vegas in 1963. This was the start of a relationship that would change both of their lives forever. They met for the first time on July 2nd, 1963, at MGM Studios in Hollywood. When they were given roles as co-stars in Viva Las Vegas, they hit it off right away. Later, Anne-Margret said that their first meeting was electric and that they could feel a current running through them both. Their personalities were a great fit. They were both shy and lively, and they both loved music and performing. The rising fame of Anne-Margret from her previous movie, Bye Bye Birdie, made her a perfect match for the already famous king of rock and roll. And they quickly turned their work relationship into a loved one as they worked together. They were able to spend time together while making the movie, and they were drawn to each other in ways that went beyond desire. Their shared experiences in show business made them feel like they were meant to be together. Elvis was Anne-Margret's soulmate, and she said that they knew each other better than anyone else. Their relationship was strong and emotional, with lots of playful banter and adoring gestures. Elvis was known for giving grand gifts, and he once had a round pink bed made just for Anne-Margret to show how much he was interested in pampering her. They liked to have fun together and often played sexy animal games, which showed how well they got along off screen as well. But there were times when things were hard in their relationship. Priscilla Beaulieu lived at Graceland, while Elvis was shot in California at the time. They were still together. Priscilla learned more and more about how well Elvis and Anne-Margret got along, which made her jealous and caused stress. Reports said that Priscilla threw vases out of anger over their affair, which showed how emotionally unstable their relationship was. Elvis Presley's marriage to Priscilla Presley was deeply affected by his relationship with Anne-Margret. It led to a lot of feelings, jealousy, and eventually dissatisfaction. Priscilla was well aware of how well Elvis and Anne-Margret got along, which had been widely reported. She lost all sense of safety when she found out about their affair. In her book, Elvis and Me, Priscilla wrote about how upset she was when she found out Elvis had been cheating on her. Priscilla felt uncertain and worried about her place in Elvis's life after the affair. Being married to one of the most famous men in the world was already hard on her, and finding out that he had been cheating on her made her feel even worse about herself. Priscilla always felt like she had to fight for Elvis's attention, both with other women and with his busy work schedule. As time went on in their marriage, Priscilla felt more and more alone. Elvis's busy touring routine meant that he wasn't always at home. This meant that she had to mostly take care of the house and raise their daughter Lisa Marie by herself. They missed each other and felt ignored and unappreciated during this time apart. Afterward, she talked about how she would wait by the phone for hours, hoping to hear from him while he was elsewhere. Elvis's rising dependence on prescription drugs made things even more difficult in their marriage. He became more and more crazy and unpredictable, which made it hard for Priscilla to feel personally connected to him. She said she felt more like a carer than a partner because she had to deal with his mood swings and make sure he was healthy. Both of them were under a lot of stress because of their fame, but Elvis seemed to get more and more out of control while Priscilla tried to find steadiness. There was a big cloud over Elvis and Priscilla's marriage because of Anne-Margret. They got married with high dreams for their future together, but things turned out very differently. Elvis had affairs with other women besides Anne-Margret. He was known for having many during their marriage. People didn't trust and liked each other because of this behavior. Priscilla felt betrayed even more because she was also trying to be independent. As she found her voice and stood up for herself in the relationship, things got worse. She realized she couldn't take being treated like an extension of Elvis any longer. She wanted to be seen as a unique person with her own goals. This need for independence went against Elvis's hopes that she would stay devoted and obey him. After being married for 5 years and growing apart, Priscilla decided in 1972 that she had to take charge of her life. The couple had grown farther apart because Elvis was always on the road and abusing drugs, so they rarely spent time together. In her autobiography, Priscilla wrote that she felt forced to find happiness outside of her marriage, which led to an affair with Mike Stone, her karate teacher. When Elvis found out this, he reacted very strongly. He felt cheated and guilty because he had been unfaithful himself many times. When Priscilla talked about a very violent time when Elvis made love to her against her will after finding out about her affair, their relationship ended. When Priscilla realized that their relationship had turned bad, it was a big turning point in her life. After 6 years of marriage, Priscilla finally asked for a divorce in 1973. There were some good things about their split. They left the courts hand in hand and said they respected each other, even though their breakup was bad. In talks after they got divorced, both of them said they still loved each other very much. When things were going badly, Priscilla's mind was full of confusion and pain. While trying to make it as a single mom, she dealt with thoughts of not being good enough and betrayal. Even after they got divorced, she was still determined to raise Lisa Marie with Elvis and keep his memory alive. As word of their relationship spread, it got a lot of attention from the media. There were rumors about what kind of relationship they had, and magazines even suggested that the two stars might get married. There was trouble in Elvis's relationships with both Priscilla and Anne-Margret because of this chatter. Friends of Elvis said that the attention the media paid to his relationship with Anne-Margret hurt him a lot. However, Anne-Margret was set on staying single and continuing her acting career. Some people thought that he would have married her if she agreed to give up her job. Their fundamentally different goals caused tension as they tried to figure out how they felt about each other while dealing with pressures from outside sources. Anne-Margret and Elvis knew that their relationship couldn't last forever, even though they had a strong bond. In her book, Anne-Margret wrote about how she and Elvis both knew they had to split up because of Elvis's obligations, especially his upcoming wedding to Priscilla on May 1st, 1967. After only 1 week, on May 8th, 1967, Anne-Margret married actor Roger Smith. It was sad and sweet that their partnership ended. Even though they loved each other very much, they knew they had to move on with their lives. Both of them stayed close friends, even after they married other people. Elvis kept up the practice of sending flowers to Anne-Margret before each of her Las Vegas shows until the day he died. Even though they were having problems on their own, Elvis and Anne-Margret stayed close friends in the years after they broke up. Whenever they could, they would go to each other's shows in Las Vegas and meet up backstage afterward. Despite their own problems, they stayed close. While Elvis struggled with addiction, which ended in his sad death in 1977, Anne-Margret fought her own demons with alcohol, but was able to beat them. Even after they broke up years ago, Anne-Margret's emotional link to Elvis was still clear. She was very sad about his death and was the only one of his main ladies who went to his funeral on August 18, 1977. She wrote in her autobiography that she would never fully get over losing him. He is a part of me, rare to have such a friend as Elvis. When they looked back, both stars saw the special bond they had while they were together. In talks and writings, Anne-Margret talked about how much they were alike. They both came from nothing and became famous quickly while dealing with personal problems. In the middle of the chaos of famous life, they found comfort in each other. Many people think of their relationship as love and say that it could have changed both of their lives if things had been different. Many people wonder what might have happened if they had married instead of going their separate ways. But it is clear that their relationship changed both of them in a way that can't be erased. A lot of emotion, heartache, and friendship can be found in the love story between Anne-Margret and Elvis Presley. From their electrifying energy on Viva Las Vegas to the sad end of their relationship, their story shows how complicated love can be when you're famous and have problems in your personal life. Even after ending their relationship, they stayed deeply affectionate towards each other throughout their lives. This shows the strong bond they had as soulmates navigating the rough waters of Hollywood together. Fans still remember this part of their story as an important part of the lives of two famous artists whose paths crossed in unforgettable ways. So this was something going on in the love triangle of Elvis, Anne, and Priscilla. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and do tell us in the comments who suffered more in this love triangle.
He would be very proud of me, of course. You know, I would just hope that he would be, I'm sure he would understand what I'm up against as well, and I think he would be. I feel music's important. I know that's there, but I need to, I feel music changes things and helps people, and it's just really, that's what it's about.
It was too tough to witness one's own father lying dead in the washroom. The thing that became the support of a teen girl at the time of her father's death became the reason for his young son's death, and she couldn't do anything. I'm talking about Lisa Marie, the only daughter of rock and roll king, Elvis. She finally opened the hidden layer of her life. So without any further ado, let's take a trip. Lisa Marie Presley was born on February 1st, 1968, at Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. She was the only child of the legendary rock and roll singer Elvis Presley and actress Priscilla Presley. Her birth came just 9 months after her parents' wedding, marking the beginning of a life that would be closely watched by the public due to her father's immense fame. Growing up at Graceland, the family mansion in Memphis, Lisa Marie enjoyed a childhood filled with unique experiences. It was impossible for anyone else to understand how close Lisa Marie Presley was to her father, Elvis Presley. She often talked about her father as both a rock star and a fun dad while she was growing up in Graceland. Their relationship was filled with unconventional moments that showed how much Elvis loved having fun and was dedicated to being a good father. She often described her father as an exciting and engaging parent. Elvis had been very clear from the start that he wanted to be a big part of Lisa Marie's life. A gentle nudge wasn't enough to wake her up in the middle of the night. He would sing her favorite songs instead. In interviews, she talked about how much she loved how he would wake her up in the middle of the night to sing. This wasn't just a habit. It was a special time for them to connect over music, making moments that Lisa Marie would always treasure. She fondly recalled riding around Graceland in golf carts with him. They became famous for how playful they were with each other. Lisa Marie thought back to when she and her dad would jump on tables and play together like they were kids. These times were full of happiness and laughter, which was very different from the stress of their public lives. Lisa felt loved and special because Elvis could turn everyday events into amazing adventures. Elvis raised his children in a very different way. Even at home, he was never seen in his pajamas. He was always seen dressed perfectly. Lisa Marie said, "You'd never see him in anything but ready to be seen, clothes." He paid a lot of attention to how he looked, which showed that he was a big-hearted person who wanted to show his daughter that he was always ready for an adventure. However, Lisa Marie's early life was not without its challenges. Their relationship had its ups and downs, despite all the attention they got. Her parents divorced when she was just 4 years old. Lisa Marie moved in with her mother in Los Angeles after Elvis and Priscilla split. Despite this change, she maintained a close relationship with her father, frequently visiting him at Graceland. Tragically, when Lisa Marie was only 9 years old, Elvis passed away unexpectedly in August 1977. This event profoundly impacted her. She was one of the first to find him after he collapsed at home. Elvis and Lisa had a bond that went beyond what most fathers and daughters have. Lisa Marie had a lot of friends and looked up to Elvis. He wasn't just her dad. She talked a lot about how much he'd affected her life and work. He died too soon when she was only 9 years old. But the memories of the times they spent together were still very clear in her mind. When Lisa Marie thought back on their time together, she said, "I remember him as my dad, but he was a very exciting dad." It says all about their relationship, love, excitement, and unforgettable times that shaped her early years. After Elvis Presley's death on August 16, 1977, Lisa Marie Presley's life changed in a terrible way. Being the first person to find her dying father was the worst thing that could have happened to her. She was only 9 years old. This incident permanently changed her mind and would affect how she felt for many years to come. The picture of her father lying still in the bathroom scared her and gave her a deep sense of loss that would last her whole life. Lisa Marie found it hard to deal with her sadness after Elvis's death. The world around her changed a lot. She wasn't just the daughter of a famous rock star. She was now a young girl who was missing her dad. She tried very hard to fill the hole that the loss had made. At the start of her teenage years, this hole led her down a dark road. With the help of drugs, she tried to escape the pain and confusion she was feeling by the time she was 13. The appeal of drugs turned into a way for her to self-medicate, and they helped her forget about the pain of losing her father for a while. Lisa Marie's relationship with her mother, Priscilla Presley, got tense during these formative years because they had different views and ways of life. When Priscilla tried to help Lisa Marie, her daughter often fought back because she felt alone and confused. They were tense with each other because their personalities and ideals did not agree. Priscilla was very concerned with keeping up a certain public image, which was very different from Lisa Marie's wild spirit and desire for freedom. Lisa Marie looked for comfort in many places, including the church, during this time of trouble. But her problems with addiction and feelings of being alone made this connection harder to make. She started using illegal drugs to try to get back in charge of her life and find some peace. During this time, she went through what she later called a self-destruct mode, in which she used dangerous behavior as a way to deal with her unresolved grief and mental pain. Because Priscilla was worried about her daughter's health, she tried to help by bringing Lisa to Scientology. Even though Priscilla thought this could give Lisa order and support during these rough times, it was yet another thing that made them fight. It made Lisa feel trapped and pressured by these standards, which made their relationship even more difficult. Scientology didn't help her feel better. Instead, it made her feel more alone and confused. Lisa had to deal with grief, addiction, and family problems as a teenager. It was like a perfect storm that could have engulfed her. She got stuck in a pattern of drug abuse that would last until she was an adult. The drugs were both a way out and a jail. They eased the pain temporarily, but led to bigger problems in the long run. There were times when Lisa tried to get help and escape the grip of her addiction despite these problems. She saw that the road she was on couldn't last, so she started looking for ways to get better. But every time she tried to get better, she failed because her father's reputation weighed heavily on her. How Lisa's life changed after Elvis's death showed how stress can change someone's life. As she went through life, the memories of her father's love stayed with her and the problems she faced. It was a link that wouldn't go away and kept her going. The challenges of Lisa didn't end up here. She faced additional hardships. Her mother began dating actor Michael Edwards, who reportedly abused Lisa Marie during her teenage years. This traumatic experience added to the challenges she faced as she navigated life under the shadow of her father's legacy. Despite these difficulties, Lisa Marie found solace in music and eventually pursued a career as a singer-songwriter. Her early life experiences shaped not only who she became as an artist, but also how she viewed her family's legacy. Through it all, she remained connected to the memory of her father and aimed to honor his influence on her life and career. After the death of her father, Elvis Presley, Lisa found herself under the care of her grandparents, Vernon and Gladys Presley. However, this period of stability was short-lived, as both her grandparents passed away within a few years of each other. At just 9 years old, Lisa Marie was left without her father and grandparents, the three most influential people in her life. As the sole heir to Elvis's estate, Lisa Marie's connection to Graceland, the family's iconic mansion in Memphis, Tennessee, became even more profound. The property, which Elvis had purchased in 1957 for $102,500, held a special place in Lisa Marie's heart. It was the place where she had spent countless hours playing with her father, exploring the grounds, and creating cherished memories that would stay with her for a lifetime. Graceland, a 13.8-acre estate, was more than just a house to Lisa Marie. The mansion, built in the colonial revival style, featured a large house with later additions, a number of outbuildings, and beautiful landscape features. The property, which was originally established as a 500-acre farm during the American Civil War, had been in the Toa family for almost 100 years before Elvis purchased it. When Lisa Marie turned 25 in 1993, she officially inherited Graceland, according to a document that named her mother, Priscilla Presley, as trustee. This moment marked a significant turning point in her life, as she now had the responsibility of preserving her father's legacy and ensuring that Graceland remained a place of joy and inspiration for his millions of fans around the world. In the years that followed, Lisa Marie made several changes to Graceland, including the addition of a new exhibit complex called Elvis Presley's Memphis, which features a car museum, Presley Motors, and a studio for Sirius Satellite Radio's All Elvis Presley channel. The property also includes two of Elvis's private jets, the Lisa Marie and the Hound Dog II, which are on permanent display for visitors to enjoy. Despite the challenges she faced in her personal life, Lisa Marie remained committed to keeping Graceland alive and thriving. She understood the importance of her father's legacy and the impact it had on people around the world. By opening Graceland to the public, she allowed fans to connect with Elvis's memory and experience the magic of his life and music firsthand. Despite the challenges and tragedies that marked her life, Lisa Marie Presley found solace and inspiration in following in her father's footsteps as a musician. From a young age, she was immersed in the world of music, attending concerts, and absorbing the energy of live performances. This early exposure to her father's craft would ultimately shape her own musical journey. In the late 1990s, Lisa Marie began to seriously pursue her passion for music, working tirelessly on her debut album. She spent over a decade meticulously crafting her sound, determined to create something that would honor her father's legacy while still being uniquely her own. This dedication and attention to detail paid off when she finally released her first album, To Whom It May Concern, in 2003. The album was a critical and commercial success, debuting at number 5 on the Billboard 200 chart and earning positive reviews from music critics. Lisa Marie's second album, Now What, was released in 2005 and continued to showcase her growth as an artist. The album featured a duet with her father, Don't Cry Daddy, which was created by blending her vocals with archival recordings of Elvis. This collaboration was a poignant reminder of the bond they shared and the influence he had on her music. In 2012, Lisa Marie released her third and final album, Storm and Grace. The album, produced by T-Bone Burnett, marked a shift in her sound, with a more stripped-down, Americana-inspired style. Critics praised the album as her strongest and most personal work to date, with Lisa Marie's lyrics reflecting on her tumultuous life experiences. Throughout her musical career, Lisa Marie drew inspiration from her father's legacy while still carving out her own unique path. She often spoke about the importance of honoring her father's memory while still being true to herself as an artist. In an interview, she reflected on the challenges of living in the shadow of such an iconic figure, saying, "I'm trying to have my own thing, and I don't know if it's even possible. I didn't realize so many people actually think I'm trying to be like my dad. I read comments like, 'She's no Elvis. I'm not trying to be. I never set out to be.'" Despite the pressure of living up to her father's legacy, Lisa Marie found solace in sharing the stage with him. Throughout her life, Lisa Marie remained dedicated to preserving her father's legacy. Lisa Marie's music career, though relatively short, was a testament to her resilience and dedication to her craft. Despite the challenges she faced, she remained committed to honoring her father's legacy while still forging her own path as an artist. Lisa's life had both happy times and hard times, especially when it came to her ties with other people. She was born into a world of fame and wealth as the only daughter of Elvis Presley, but this also came with its own complications. Her journey through 4 marriages shows how complicated love can be and how much her father's death hurt her. Danny Keough was her first husband, and they got married in 1988. They had a strong bond that started when they were teenagers, and together they had 2 children, Riley and Benjamin. But in 1994, after 6 years together, they split up. Even though they broke up amicably, it was the start of Lisa's rough love life. Lisa Marie married pop star Michael Jackson in a very public ceremony just a few weeks after her split from Keough. Their short marriage, only 2 years before they got split in 1996, became a media spectacle, both because it was full of famous people and because it ended so quickly. There were a lot of problems in the relationship, like the fact that the public and the media were very interested in it and put a lot of pressure on both of them. Lisa Marie was engaged to star Nicolas Cage for a short time in 2002 after her divorce from Jackson. Their short-lived relationship ended with a marriage that lasted only 3 months. Many people were confused about her choices and emotions after seeing how quickly they got married and then broke up. Later, Cage said he was heartbroken that they were no longer together, pointing out that Lisa's problems with her identity and memory often cast a shadow over their relationship. Lisa Marie married musician Michael Lockwood in 2006. Lockwood had been her musical director while she was making her record, Now What? At first, this relationship looked like it would work out well. In 2008, they had twin girls, Finley and Harper. But as time went on, their relationship started to show signs of wear and tear. In 2016, Lisa Marie filed for divorce, saying that she and her husband could no longer get along. She went to rehab soon after they broke up for problems with drugs because this time was especially hard for her. The divorce procedures were messy and got a lot of attention because there were disagreements about money and who would have custody of their children. Lisa Marie struggled with feelings of not being good enough and loneliness during these interactions. Being Elvis Presley's daughter put a lot of pressure on her personal life. She often felt like her partners were more interested in her father's reputation than in her as a person. There were also outside stresses on Lisa's marriage, like the constant attention from the media and the expectations people had of her as a public figure. That seemed to be how her childhood was after Elvis died, as each connection came with its own set of problems. She never fully got over losing her father when she was so young. The mental scars that it left behind showed up as insecurities that made it hard for her to connect with other people. Lisa said she wanted to make real connections with people, but she was stuck in cycles of sadness and disappointment. Each marriage ended not only as a failure for the person involved, but also as a new part of a life marked by loss and longing. She found comfort in her singing, but she also had problems with addiction and personal demons that could get in the way of her healing and self-discovery. Even with all of these problems, she stayed committed to her children and hoped to give them a safe home amidst the chaos that had been a big part of her life. And unfortunately, Lisa's son Benjamin took his life under the influence of drugs at the age of 27. It was so sad to witness the entire Presley clan due to the influence of drugs. So here's the detailed life of Lisa Marie. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos. And don't forget to tell in the comments if Lisa's life was really exciting for her. Would it be possible that a man who exploits minors does so because his childhood was strictly controlled by his father? If so, then this man was Michael Jackson, the king of pop. And this is nothing there are a lot more dark truths related to Michael Jackson, which were revealed by her mother, Katherine Jackson. So let's open the layers. Katherine Jackson, born Caddy B. Screws, on May 4, 1930, in Clayton, Alabama, is best known as the matriarch of the famous Jackson family. She was the daughter of Martha Mattie Upshaw and Prince Albert Screws. Katherine's early life was marked by challenges. She contracted polio at a young age, which left her with a lifelong limp. Despite this setback, she grew up in a loving environment that fostered her strength and resilience. When Katherine was just 4 years old, her family moved to East Chicago, Indiana. Here, her father changed their surname to Screws and renamed her Catherine Esther Screws. This move was significant as it set the stage for her future. In Indiana, Katherine met Joseph Jackson in 1947. At that time, Joseph was a boxer and an aspiring musician. They married in November 1949 after Joseph divorced his first wife. Katherine became a dedicated homemaker, while Joseph worked as a crane operator at U.S. Steel. Together, they had 10 children over the next 16 years. Rebby, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, LaToya, Marlon, Michael, Randy, and Janet Jackson. Katherine was deeply involved in her children's lives and encouraged their musical talents from an early age. As a devout Jehovah's Witness, she instilled strong values in her children and maintained a disciplined household. Katherine's support was crucial when her sons formed the Jackson 5 in the 1960s. She not only acted as their costume designer, but also nurtured their ambitions. Her influence on their careers would later be recognized as instrumental in their rise to fame. Throughout her life, Katherine has been celebrated for her dedication to her family and has become an iconic figure in the music world due to her children's achievements. From the outset, Katherine's gentle nature contrasted sharply with Joe's intense drive for success. Joe had grand dreams for his children and believed that hard work and discipline were the keys to achieving greatness. He was determined to turn them into stars, often putting immense pressure on them to perform. This relentless pursuit of success created a high-stress environment in their home. Joe's methods included harsh discipline, which Katherine sometimes struggled to accept. She often found herself caught in the middle, wanting to support her husband's ambitions, while also wanting her children to feel free and loved. Katherine's approach was different. She believed in allowing her children to explore their passions without fear of failure. She encouraged them to express themselves and pursue their dreams, often providing a comforting presence when the pressures of fame became overwhelming. Katherine made each child feel special and unique, nurturing their individual talents rather than forcing them into a mold that Joe envisioned. This nurturing spirit helped balance the strictness imposed by Joe. And despite her efforts to maintain harmony within the family, Katherine faced significant challenges in her marriage. Joe's infidelity and emotional distance strained their relationship over the years. In fact, Katherine filed for divorce twice, in 1973 and again in 1982. But each time she rescinded her decision due to her strong religious beliefs as a Jehovah's Witness and her commitment to family unity. However, the emotional toll of living with Joe's controlling nature and infidelities weighed heavily on her. As their children rose to fame with the Jackson 5 in the late 1960s and early 1970s, Katherine found herself increasingly concerned about their well-being amid the pressures of stardom. Michael Jackson later revealed in his autobiography that while Joe's pressure helped propel them into the spotlight, it also led to feelings of anxiety and fear among the children. Katherine became their safe haven, a mother who offered love and understanding when they needed it most. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana, to Joseph and Katherine Jackson. He was the 8th child in the Jackson family, which would eventually grow to include 10 children total. Michael had a very talented childhood, but he also had to deal with a lot of problems. Despite being very young, he had amazing singing and dancing skills that made him a star right away. Michael was performing in front of friends and other people when he was only 5 years old. He was showing off the skills that would make him the king of pop one day. He joined his bigger brothers, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, in the family band, the Jackson 5, when he was 8 years old. They played congas and tambourine. Michael's youth, on the other hand, was full of abuse and things that weren't normal. His father, Joseph, was a strict disciplinarian who made the kids go through hard practices, beat them up, and called them mean names. Michael later said that he often cried because he was lonely, and that seeing his father would make him sick. He lost his youth because he was always under pressure to do well. Michael said he missed the easy pleasures of being a kid. Even though things were hard, Michael's amazing ability kept growing. In 1968, Motown Records signed the Jackson 5. In 1971, Michael Jackson started working on his own and made a number of hit songs. By the time he was in his teens, Michael was a famous person all over the world, but his hard youth would still affect him for years to come. His desire to regain the lost innocence of his youth would become one of the things that made him the Peter Pan of pop music. Michael Jackson's first step into the music business was to form the Jackson 5. This group would not only present his amazing skill, but also forever change the way pop music is made. Joe Jackson, Michael's dad, actually started the Jackson 5 in 1964 in Gary, Indiana. At first, the group was made up of Joe's three oldest sons, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine. Soon, Marlon and Michael joined. Michael, who is only 5 years old, joined this new singing family as the youngest member. There wasn't much time for the Jackson 5 to start performing, but they quickly became famous on the Chitlin Circuit, a network of venues for African-American performers. There was a big break for them in 1967 when they won a competition at the famous Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York. With this win, Motown Records head Berry Gordy became interested and signed them in 1968. When I Want You Back, their first song, came out in January 1970. It went straight to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart. This was the first of a huge string of hits for the group. In the years that followed, they made a string of hit songs such as ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. The Jackson 5 were known for their contagious energy, catchy songs, and Michael's amazing singing voice. Their shows were a sight and sound experience thanks to their tight choreography and bright costumes. Katherine Jackson was very important behind the scenes during this time. She was such a good mother that she planned and sewed many of her kids' stage costumes. Her help was very important as she weighed the goals of her family with her natural desire to care for them. Even though they were hugely successful, living in the sun wasn't always easy. The fame put a lot of stress on everyone in the Jackson family. But Michael Jackson found himself as an artist and entertainer during these formative years as a member of the Jackson 5. The things he learned during this time set him up for a single career later on, and also showed off his early work with one of the most famous groups in music history. The independent career of Michael Jackson changed the music business forever. It made him a worldwide star and solidified his title as the King of Pop. After having a lot of success with the Jackson 5, Michael started to go his own way. In 1972, he released his first record by himself, called Got to Be There. There were hits on the album like Ben, which was his first #1 song as a solo artist. This early success showed signs of the amazing ability that would soon captivate people all over the world. Michael released his album, Off the Wall, in 1979. It showed how he had changed as an artist. It was different from the bubblegum pop music he listened to as a kid. It had deeper themes and better arrangements. Top 10 hits like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You were on the album. Both songs proved Michael's amazing vocal range and electric energy. Not only did Off the Wall get to #3 on the Billboard 200, but it also sold more than 20 million copies around the world. It earned him 3 American Music Awards and a Grammy for Best Male R&B vocal performance. His growing success, on the other hand, made his brothers unhappy. As Michael's fame grew, problems started to show up in his family. The Jackson 5 worked together, and while each brother had their time in the spotlight, Michael's personal successes made their work seem less important. Jermaine, Tito, and Marlon were frustrated as they saw their younger brother reach heights that had never been seen before. The frustration was made worse by the fact that Michael's solo work started to take precedence over group projects, which caused him to grow apart from his siblings. The turning point was when Thriller came out in 1982, the most popular album of all time. This groundbreaking album has hit songs like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller. Not only did each song top the charts, but the music films for them became works of art. With its complex choreography and movie-like look, the Thriller video became a cultural phenomenon that broke down racial borders on MTV. Michael's creative approach to music videos set new standards for the business and made him even more of an entertainment superstar. While Michael was adored by people all over the world, his brothers were having trouble with their own jobs. At first, Jermaine stayed with Motown while the other brothers moved to Epic Records and changed their name to the Jacksons. This split made family relationships more difficult, and Jermaine's absence from group projects made the boys feel even more alone. As Michael's fame grew, their personal relationships started to fall apart, even though they continued to help each other at work. Michael Jackson's life had both amazing highs and terrible lows, and the bad times often overshadowed his amazing successes. Child abuse claims that started in the early 1990s were one of his biggest problems. They cast a long shadow over both his work and his personal life. In 1993, Michael was accused of sexually abusing a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler. This was the first big problem. The claims were made public after Evan Chandler, Jordan's father, asked Michael about his son's close friendship with him. At first, Evan welcomed the friendship, but when he saw how Jordan's feelings were changing, he became suspicious. Evan asked Michael for money and threatened to tell everyone about the claims if he didn't get it. After Jordan told a therapist that Michael had abused him, the Los Angeles Police Department began an investigation. Even though there was a lot of scrutiny from the public and the media, the investigation did not find any physical proof against Jackson. In fact, neither of the grand juries that were called to look into the case decided to charge him. But the damage was already done. Michael's image took a huge hit. It was during the second part of his Dangerous World tour that the news came out that he had to cancel shows because the stress and health problems were getting worse. He became addicted to painkillers after having reconstructive surgeries from an accident he had in a Pepsi commercial. This made the mental damage even worse. Jackson settled the case with the Chandlers in January 1994 for about $23 million, but he didn't say he was guilty. This choice was made in part to keep his job from being harmed further, but it left a lot of questions unanswered and made people wonder whether he was innocent or guilty. People didn't believe the deal put an end to the rumors. In fact, many people saw it as proof of them. Jackson's success was affected by the scandal in many ways. His once untouchable image started to fall apart, and he lost a lot of important contracts, including a lucrative deal with Pepsi. Despite these setbacks, he continued to produce music and maintain a loyal fan base. However, whispers of doubt lingered in the background. In 2005, the issue came up again when Jackson was charged with new crimes because of claims made by another boy, Gavin Arvizo. Gavin became friends with Michael when Michael was going through a hard time because he had cancer. When Gavin's family accused Jackson of molesting her after they were seen together in the documentary Living with Michael Jackson, their relationship turned into a nightmare. In this movie, Jackson talked directly about how he often let kids sleep over at his house, which many people found disturbing. The trial that followed got a lot of attention and was closely watched. Jackson was charged with many things, such as molestation and giving drink to a minor, even though the claims were very serious and caused a lot of attention in the media. Michael was found not guilty on all counts in June 2005. This legal victory helped his image in some ways, but it wasn't enough to erase the public's doubts or heal the emotional wounds these events had left. Michael had a hard time with feelings of loneliness and humiliation during these rough years. He felt like the media and most people didn't understand him a lot of the time. His traumatic youth, which was caused by being abused by his father, showed up in different ways throughout his adult life. Many people think that his desire to connect with minors came from missing his own childhood. He looked for comfort in friendships with young fans while trying to recreate the innocence he never had. As time went on, new accusations were made after the fact. The controversial 2019 documentary Leaving Neverland brought these claims to the forefront. There were two guys in this documentary who said Jackson sexually abused them as children. The movie started heated arguments about Jackson's legacy again, and radio stations all over the world stopped playing his songs. Even with all of these problems and controversies, Michael Jackson's influence on music and society can't be denied. Even though his life story had some dark parts, his ability to break new ground and change the sound of pop music is praised. Putting his immense skill next to his personal problems shows a complicated picture of a man who is both admired and feared, showing the difficulties one of history's most mysterious figures had to face. As the matriarch of the Jackson family, Catherine bore witness to both the triumphs and tribulations of her children, especially Michael, whose life was marked by extraordinary success and profound difficulties. From a young age, Michael faced health issues that would haunt him throughout his life. In 1986, he was diagnosed with vitiligo, a skin condition that causes patches of skin to lose their pigment. This condition not only affected his appearance, but also took a significant psychological toll on him. Michael often felt misunderstood and judged by the public, who speculated that he was deliberately trying to change his race. In a 1993 interview with Oprah Winfrey, he bravely addressed these rumors, stating, "When people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me." Catherine stood by him during these challenging times. As Michael's fame skyrocketed, so did the pressures surrounding him. The child abuse allegations in 1993 were a devastating blow for both mother and son. Catherine found herself grappling with the intense scrutiny of the media and public opinion. Catherine often worried about his well-being and tried to encourage him to seek help, but Michael was reluctant to confront his demons. In addition to his struggles with vitiligo and the emotional fallout from the abuse allegations, Michael also faced complications from numerous plastic surgeries. While he initially sought cosmetic procedures to address his vitiligo and improve his appearance, the surgeries became more frequent over time. Catherine later revealed that she believed Michael underwent more surgeries than he admitted, which led to further complications and health issues. These procedures left him with scars and physical changes that fueled tabloid speculation and public scrutiny. Catherine's concerns deepened as she witnessed Michael's increasing dependence on medications. By the time he was reportedly struggling with addiction to prescription drugs, the pressures of performing again after years away from the spotlight weighed heavily on him. Catherine often reflected on how her son had become a shell of the vibrant performer he once was, consumed by anxiety and health issues. Tragically, on June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died at the age of 50 from acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication, a result of improper administration by his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray. His death sent shockwaves around the world and left Catherine devastated. She had lost not just a son, but also a piece of her heart. The financial implications of Michael's death were significant as well. While he had amassed considerable wealth throughout his career, much of it was tied up in extravagant spending, ranging from lavish homes to Neverland Ranch, leading to questions about financial stability after his death. Catherine worked diligently to protect her son's legacy while managing the estate's debts and ensuring that his children were taken care of financially. Despite these challenges, Catherine remained steadfast in her commitment to preserving her family's legacy. She emphasized the importance of unity among her children and sought to honor Michael's memory through charitable work and initiatives that reflected his values. In reflecting on her relationship with Michael, Catherine often spoke about her pride in his accomplishments while mourning the difficulties he faced behind closed doors. She recognized that despite the glitz and glamour associated with being a superstar, Michael battled inner demons that few could understand. So this was the complicated life of Michael Jackson. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos full of suspense.
He was 17, his career was 8 months long, and people still play his music. They come up and tell me they love the movie, they love his music, they love to see me performing. You know, they say I'm as close as they're gonna get.
If someone really wants to understand what real friendship is, then one must learn about Ritchie Valens. One of his childhood friends passed, and Ritchie launched a song in his memory. And this is one sign of Ritchie's humbleness. His sister finally shared such signs of humbleness and some rumors of Ritchie's life. So let's try to understand in the next few minutes. People around the world know him as Ritchie Valens. He was born on May 13, 1941, in Pacoima, a neighborhood in Los Angeles, California, in the San Fernando Valley. He had a Mexican father named Joseph Valenzuela and a Mexican mother named Concepcion Concha Reyes. Ritchie grew up in a simple home, but he was exposed to a lot of different cultures that would have an impact on his singing career. His family loved music and played a lot of different kinds for him, from traditional Mexican mariachi to rhythm and blues. This made him love music from a very young age. There were some hard times in Ritchie's life. They split up when he was 3 years old, and he moved in with his dad, Steve, in a small house in Pacoima. Steve saw Ritchie's musical ability early on and gave him a guitar when he showed interest in making instruments out of things around the house. This encouraged Ritchie to learn more about music. This helped make Ritchie love music for the rest of his life. Poor Ritchie. His father Steve died of diabetes when he was only 10 years old, cutting his father's impact short. After this loss, Ritchie moved back in with his mother and her children from past relationships. These included his half-brother Robert, another brother named Bob Morales, and two younger sisters named Connie and Irma. As a child, Ritchie struggled with his identity. He was Mexican, but he didn't speak Spanish very well. He felt out of place with his friends because they teased him for having lighter skin and not speaking Spanish well. Even so, he was a quiet, nice boy who found comfort in music. He went to Pacoima Junior High School and would bring his guitar to lunchtime to play for his friends. His skills were recognized, and because he sang Little Richard songs, his classmates affectionately called him the Little Richard of the San Fernando Valley. Ritchie joined a local band called the Silhouettes when he was 16 years old. This is where he started to improve his guitar and singing skills. His mother was very important to his industry because she used the rent money to rent out local halls for concerts. Ritchie gained confidence and live experience through these shows. Even with these problems, Ritchie's love for music grew. He kept getting better as an artist all through high school, and a music producer named Bob Keane became interested in him. Keane would later help him start his business. Ritchie's early life set the stage for a groundbreaking career in rock music that made him one of the first Latino stars to work in that genre. Ritchie Valens had a strong will and a lot of ability. He overcame personal problems and problems in society to become an important figure in American music history before he died too soon at the age of 17. As talented as Ritchie Valens was, his road to fame wasn't just smooth. It was also paved with emotional support, personal challenges, and the weight of loss. Ritchie grew up in a home that valued music, and his mother, Concepcion, helped him follow his dreams by noticing his talent early on. Even though they didn't have much money, she supported his dreams and often gave up her own wants so he could follow his musical goals. It was easy for Ritchie to be creative in this supportive setting, but it also had its own problems. Ritchie's biggest problem was that he had to learn how to play the guitar. Being left-handed in a world full of right-handed tools was hard in its own way. Ritchie had to change because most guitars were made for right-handed players. He didn't wait for a left-handed guitar. Instead, he learned to play a right-handed one, which forced him to come up with a unique way to play. This showed that he was dedicated to music and wouldn't let anything get in the way of his goals. Even with these problems, Ritchie's natural interest in music showed through. He spent a lot of time practicing, and he often used a used guitar that he had fixed up in the school woodshop. Because he worked hard, he became good at many styles, combining traditional Mexican sounds with new rock and roll inspirations. His music would later become known for its ability to change and adapt. There were also artists Ritchie looked up to who influenced his own songs. The energetic performances of Little Richard really moved him. The singer's flashy style and strong voice will stay with him forever. You can hear this impact in Ritchie's lively performances and singing style. Also, the help from local musicians was very important. Ritchie was in a lot of bands as a teenager, and the Silhouettes was the real stage, where he improved his playing and singing skills. These activities not only gave him great chances to perform, but they also helped him make contacts in the music world that were very important to his job later on. In a terrible accident near Ritchie's school, on January 31st, 1957, his best friend Terry died. On January 31st, 1957, teacher John Buchanan started recording the graduation program for 800 students at Pacoima Junior High School in the San Fernando Valley. After about 10 minutes, an F-89 jet crashed into a new DC-7 in the sky above the nearby San Gabriel Mountains, making both planes unmanageable. In the end, Buchanan's recording that morning caught the sound of a tragedy. Halfway through the tape, right after Linda Luttrell, the graduation speaker says, "We have only one life to live." The DC-7 can be heard falling into the school's football pitch, which is only a few hundred feet from the auditorium. 3 Pacoima students, the pilot of the F-89, and the 4 people on board the DC-7 were killed in the crash. The pilot of the F-89 said, "Uncontrollable. We're spinning over the valley. "Goodbye, everyone. We're going inside." After his jet almost hit the bigger plane head-on, the pilot of the F-89 quickly parachuted to safety on the ground. But dozens of students were hurt on the Pacoima gym field, and many of them were badly hurt. The tragedy became known across the country when the parents of the Pacoima child successfully asked officials to stop future test flights in overcrowded areas. There were a lot more people living in the San Fernando Valley in 1957 than there are now, but not nearly as many as there are now. This terrible event had a huge impact on Ritchie, and he is still dealing with sadness at such a young age. Terry's death reminded Ritchie of how fragile life is, and it made Ritchie feel like he needed to act quickly to follow his goals. He thought about how their friendship made him want to enjoy every moment all the time. Another movie, La Bamba, came out in 1987 and talked about the crash again. It was the reason why rock star and Pacoima's favorite son, Ritchie Valens, was afraid to fly. After 2 years, Valens, J.P. Big Bopper Richardson, and Buddy Holly were all killed when their light plane crashed near Clear Lake, Iowa. They were all on tour with Valens. Even though he was hurting, Ritchie put his feelings into his songs. The pain of losing Terry gave his songs more depth and helped him describe feelings that many people could relate to. Some of his songs, like Donna, which he wrote for an ex-girlfriend, were very moving and hit home with fans. One of the things that made him unique was his ability to show real feelings through music. And it looked like Ritchie Valens was about to start a musical movement that would change rock and roll for good. When he met Bob Keane, the owner of Delphi Records, his journey really began. This meeting changed Ritchie's life, taking him from performing in small towns to becoming famous across the country. Bob Keane saw one of Ritchie's shows at a small theater in San Fernando in 1958. He thought the young musician was very talented and full of energy, so he asked Ritchie to come to his home studio for a tryout. In this small room in the basement, dreams would start to come true. Ritchie was excited and worried at the same time, and his nerves showed during the audition. Keane saw his promise right away and signed him to Delphi Records on May 14th, 1958. Keane was a very important part of Ritchie's success. He told Richard Valenzuela that he should change his name to Ritchie Valens because he knew how important branding was. Keane thought that Valenzuela sounded too foreign for the general audience they were trying to reach. Ritchie reluctantly agreed because he knew that this change would help him become more accepted in the music business, which is mostly white. Ritchie got a new identity and a fresh start when he changed his name. He was getting ready to take the world stage. Ritchie's first recording session happened not long after he signed with Delphi. In May 1958, he released Come On, Let's Go, an original song co-written with Bob Keane under his real name, Bob Kuhn. This track featured Ritchie's unique blend of rock and traditional Mexican sounds, setting the stage for what would become his signature style. The song came out soon after it was recorded and became a big hit right away, making Ritchie's debut in the music business. But it was his next album that really made him famous. The double A-side single had 2 songs, Donna, a sad tune he wrote for his high school sweetheart, Donna Ludwig, and La Bamba, a rock version of a traditional Mexican folk song. Released on January 3rd, 1959, this song became an instant hit, selling over 1 million copies and earning Ritchie a gold disc from the Recording Industry Association of America. Ritchie Valens' songs hit close to home for people of all backgrounds. His genuine lyrics and lively performances made an emotional connection with people that went beyond language barriers. Many people became fans of La Bamba, which was one of the first Spanish-language songs to make it to the top of the Billboard charts. Ritchie not only made a new sound by mixing rock and roll with traditional Mexican music, but he also paved the way for other Latino artists to work in popular music. Not only was his music well known, it was also very innovative. Ritchie Valens became a source of hope and a voice for many young Latinos in America during a time when their voices were often ignored. He showed that it was possible to be proud of your background and be successful in the music business as a whole. Ritchie recorded 29 songs at Delphi Records during his short but important career. Of those, 21 were original compositions. After his death, his self-titled record, Ritchie Valens, came out in March 1959. It showed how versatile he was as an artist and had hits like Ooh My Head and Framed. But not all of Ritchie's recordings came out while he was still alive. Many tapes were kept secret after his sad death. People who like Ritchie Valens and people who study history both talk about his lost tapes all the time. These recordings show how talented and creative he was at the start of his work. They are a sad memory of what might have been if he had lived longer to develop his artistic skills more. Ritchie Valens made a lasting mark on music history, even though he was only famous for 8 months before he died too soon at the age of 17. A boy from Pacoima who had big dreams and changed the course of rock music forever. His story is one of overcoming hardship. Many artists are still inspired by him, showing that even if you only live for a short time, you can leave a lasting mark through passion and drive. Ritchie's story isn't just about fame, it's also about heart. His songs that touched people deeply will be remembered for a long time after he died. People still listen to his songs to remember how powerful dreams can be and how creative people can be. Ritchie Valens, whose name sounds like the lively spirit of rock and roll, had a lot of success in his short life. His music not only topped the charts, but it also changed the style forever, making him a leader for Latino acts. But he did have some bad things happen in his life, and the tragic events of his death cast a long shadow over his legacy. Ritchie's first hit on the Billboard lists was "Come On, Let's Go," which got to number 42 in late 1958. This was only the start. His next song, "Donna," was a huge hit, going to number 2 on the charts and staying there for an amazing 23 weeks. When it came out as a double A-side with La Bamba, it showed how well Ritchie could combine heartfelt feelings with catchy melodies. That song, La Bamba, was based on a traditional Mexican folk song. It reached number 22 and is now one of the most famous songs in music history. Some of Ritchie's songs that made it to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 were "That's My Little Susie" at number 55 and "Ooh, My Head." His record with the same name came out soon after he died in January 1959 and reached number 23 on the Billboard Pop Albums chart. Ritchie's short but important career cemented his place as an important figure in rock and roll history. Ritchie Valens is mostly known for his singing work, but there were other parts of his life that showed a more complex person. Ritchie had to deal with the stresses of fame, just like many other young stars. During his short career, he was known to have been in a few relationships, but information about these relationships are still hard to find. The most famous was his connection with Donna Ludwig, who gave him the idea for his hit song, "Donna." A lot of people loved their young love story, but it made Ritchie's already troubled life even worse. The sudden fame came with its own problems. Ritchie had a hard time with the demands that were put on him as a young Latino artist in a field that often looked down on people from different backgrounds. He sometimes felt anxious and unsure about his future in music because of this pressure. Even with all of these problems, he stayed dedicated to his work and kept making music that people liked. Ritchie's career ended tragically on February 3rd, 1959. That day will always be known in music history as the day the music died. Buddy Holly and J.P. "The Big Bopper" Richardson were also on the Winter Dance Party tour and played next to him. Problems with logistics and the harsh winter weather made the show very tiring for the performers. Tom Alsop, Buddy Holly's backup guitarist, and Ritchie won a coin toss for a seat on a small private plane after a show in Clear Lake, Iowa. This choice, which seemed harmless, would seal his fate. The plane took off from Mason City Airport just after midnight on February 3rd, but bad weather made things difficult right away. Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, J.P. Richardson, and pilot Roger Peterson were all killed when the plane crashed just minutes after takeoff. Reports say the plane crashed in a farm near Clear Lake, Iowa. This caused shock and sadness all over the country. Ritchie died when he was only 17 years old. Artists like Ritchie Valens' songs continue to connect with fans across generations and cultures. His unique mix of rock and native Mexican sounds paved the way for other Latino artists in rock music and other fields. La Bamba and other songs like it introduced a lot of people to Latin sounds and showed appreciation for Mexican culture at a time when it wasn't given much attention in the media. Ritchie had a huge impact on music, even though his career was short. He is known as one of the first Latino rock stars and will always be remembered in American music history. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame after his death, and Billboard named him one of the most important Latino artists. Many musicians have written tributes to him and his work. The fact that Ritchie Valens' music is still praised today may be the best way to sum up his impact. The 1987 movie La Bamba which tells the story of his life, brought his music back into the spotlight and presented it to new people. Another #1 hit was the movie's theme song, performed by Los Lobos. This showed that Ritchie's talent had not diminished over time. The tragic story of Ritchie Valens' life shows how high teenage dreams can go, and how low tragedy can go with fame. From Pacoima to becoming a rock star, his life has been full of both happiness and sadness. He was happy to make music that touched people's hearts, but sad that he lost it all too soon. His story is not just about a young man who died in a tragic way. It is also about an artist whose love of music broke down walls and encouraged many others to follow their dreams, even when things got hard. Today, as we remember Ritchie Valens, we celebrate not only his contributions to rock music, but also the spirit he embodied, which lives on and inspires people long after he died too soon. So, this was the story of a 17-year-old boy who made his name famous by his art. If you really enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to our channel for more videos.
And ladies and gentlemen, this picture that you have just seen is the last live performance that Elvis ever done on stage. Thank you. God bless you.
What does it mean when a father's world falls apart because of his son's legacy? When Vernon Presley stood at Elvis's grave and sobbed, "Daddy will be along soon, son," he had no idea that 2 years later, his own heart would follow Elvis into the shadows. In the next few minutes, we will discuss the truths that have been hidden and that we all have been in denial about, now revealed by Elvis's father, Vernon Presley. Vernon Presley was born in Fulton, Mississippi on April 10, 1916. He was the father of the famous Elvis Presley. He was the oldest of 5 children born to Jesse D. McClowell Presley and Minnie Mae Hood Presley. He grew up in a simple home. Vernon had trouble with money as a child, which would affect his life as a parent and manager of one of the most famous acts in history. Vernon's family had a lot of problems. His parents worked hard to provide for their family and taught him the importance of not giving up. He fell in love with Gladys Love Smith, who was 4 years older than him when he was only 17. Vernon lied about his age to get a marriage license, so they got married in 1933, even though he wasn't old enough. This marriage would lead to a close-knit family that would grow to include their son Elvis. On January 8, 1935, they had their first child together. The young Elvis Aaron Presley was born in a small, self-built house with only 2 rooms. Sad to say, Elvis had a twin brother named Jesse Garin, who died 35 minutes before he did. Vernon and Gladys were very sad about losing Elvis, but they were very happy to have Elvis in their lives. They loved him very much from the first day they met him. In his early years as a parent, Vernon did a number of odd jobs to help pay for his family. He often did jobs that required a lot of hard work, like driving delivery cars and working on farms. It was very hard on the finances. At one point, Vernon was found guilty of changing a check and sent to prison for 8 months. These problems only made him more determined to take care of his family. Even though they were poor, Vernon and Gladys helped Elvis develop his skills from a very young age. When they couldn't afford the toys he wanted, they told him to focus on music instead. For example, when Elvis was young, he asked for a motorbike for his birthday but got a guitar instead. This choice would have a huge impact on his job in the future. The Presley family moved to Memphis, Tennessee in 1948 to give their son better chances. They moved into Lauderdale Courts, a public housing building, after living in a number of rooming houses. Because of this move, Elvis was introduced to a wider range of music, including blues and gospel from the area. Elvis went to L.C. Humes High School and had difficulties in school, but did very well in singing. He often brought his guitar to school and played it during lunch breaks, even though other students made fun of him for being different. But his love for music got stronger during these important years. Vernon was a very important part of helping Elvis develop his ability. The family went to church often, and gospel music was a big part of their lives. Elvis developed his love for music and performing after hearing these songs. Elvis had always wanted to be an artist by the time he graduated from high school. By 1954, as Elvis began to gain recognition through Sun Records, Vernon stepped into a more active role in his son's career. He became not just a father, but also an essential manager and advisor. This shift marked a significant turning point in their relationship. Vernon was now tasked with overseeing the business side of Elvis's burgeoning fame. He went on trips with Elvis and helped him handle his money, as the young singer became famous very quickly. Over the course of their lives, Vernon and Elvis had a very strong bond. Vernon not only helped his son deal with the challenges of fame, but he also looked out for him. He made sure Elvis stayed stable even though he was having a lot of success. Ever since Elvis became one of the most famous musicians of all time, Vernon has been an important part of the band. He oversaw many parts of Elvis's business and stayed close to him at Graceland, their home in Memphis where they raised their family. From coming from nothing to becoming the father of an icon, Vernon Presley's life story is one of strength and determination. He always helped and supported Elvis, which was very important for both his work and his personality. Vernon was determined to carry on his son's memory even after Elvis's untimely death at age 42 in 1977, until he too died in June 1979 of heart problems. Though they had ups and downs together, Vernon's guidance for Elvis paved the way for one of the most amazing jobs in music history. This makes Vernon not only a father, but also an important part of rock and roll history. How Vernon Presley and his son Elvis got close is a story of love, sacrifice, and how hard it is to deal with fame. From the poor streets of Tupelo, Mississippi, to the top of the rock and roll world, their relationship had both hard times and times when they were always there for each other. Vernon was only 18 years old when he had his child. In a simple two-room house, he and Gladys received Elvis on January 8, 1935. Their life was far from luxury. They had a hard time making ends meet and often relied on help from the government and kind neighbors. Even though things were hard, Vernon was eager to take care of his family. Vernon's love for Elvis was clear even when things were bad. He talked a lot about how exciting it was to have kids, even though they were having money problems. Because they loved each other deeply, Elvis felt safe enough to pursue his interests in a safe setting. As Elvis got older, Vernon saw that his son had a special gift for music. Most of the time, the family sang together at home and at church, where religious music was very important to them. These events not only brought them closer together, but also gave Elvis a deep love for music. Vernon helped Elvis reach his goals as he grew from a child to a teenager. It was Vernon who pushed Elvis to become a professional musician after high school when he said he wanted to do that. As a gift for his mother in 1953, Elvis taped 2 songs at Memphis Recording Service. This small act would set the stage for his future career. Being famous put a lot of pressure on her. As Elvis's fame grew, so did the problems they had to deal with together. In the middle of the chaos of Elvis's life as a celebrity, Vernon had to handle contracts and finances while keeping Elvis grounded. As they became partners on this trip, their relationship changed. Vernon helped Elvis understand how the entertainment business worked and kept him safe from its darker sides. Even though Vernon and Elvis were very close, their friendship had its ups and downs. The demands of fame took a toll on both men. Vernon was worried a lot about the stress that came with being famous. He saw for himself how fame could change people, and he was determined to keep Elvis from doing things that would hurt him. Even after they were successful, they were still having money problems. Vernon worked hard to keep Elvis's finances in order, but there were times when bad management or outside forces made them less stable. Vernon's past legal problems hung over them like a cloud. All he wanted was for his son to have everything he needed and not make the same mistakes he did. Sometimes Elvis's anger made things hard in their relationship. He was known for being intense and sometimes unstable, and he would lash out when he was stressed, usually at Vernon and other people close to him. Even though things went up and down, they stayed close because they trusted and loved each other deeply. Vernon's firm support for Elvis never changed, no matter what. He was there for his son when things got tough, like when he was being watched by a lot of people or when he was having problems with relationships and drugs later in life. No matter how angry they got with each other, Vernon always tried to help Elvis make good choices. Vernon was a big part of those processes when it came to making decisions about money or careers. He worked with Elvis to make sure that record labels and marketers treated him fairly when they signed contracts. Their relationship was more than just work. It was based on respect and understanding for each other. Vernon had an effect on Elvis's personal life as well. He told him to surround himself with reliable people who wanted what was best for him. This advice became more and more important as Elvis dealt with the problems that came with being famous. It kept him grounded while still letting him be artistic. As time went on, Vernon and Elvis's friendship grew into a deep partnership based on love and trust. They had many moments together, from family gatherings at Graceland to concerts all over the country, when Elvis's career was at its peak. Their relationship went beyond the normal father-son relationship. They were close friends who relied on each other when life got unclear. It was sad that their journey together had to stop abruptly when Elvis died on August 16, 1977. Vernon was devastated by the death. He had spent his whole life taking care of his boy, and making sure that his legacy would live on after he was gone. Vernon's life was centered around Elvis in many ways. His hopes and dreams were linked to those of his son. Vernon took over running Graceland after Elvis died, but he was still sad about losing his favorite child. Many people think he died of a broken heart on June 26, 1979, just 2 years later. This shows how close they were. Vernon Presley's life story is full of ups and downs and emotions. It shows both the difficulties families face when they try to succeed, despite all the odds, and the love that grows between a father and son as they go through life together. Vernon's impact on Elvis through financial problems, personal trials, and finally successes in music history not only made him an icon, but also showed what it meant to be family in hard times. Their relationship is a lasting lesson that behind every great success story is a strong network of supporters. It's a legacy built on love that still speaks to fans all over the world today. The love story between Elvis Presley and Priscilla Beaulieu is an enticing story of desire, love, and the difficulties of dealing with fame. When Priscilla, then 14, met the king of rock and roll, then 24, he was stationed in Germany with the U.S. Army in 1959. This was the start of their story. Despite the significant age gap, there was an instant connection between the two that would blossom into a lifelong bond. Elvis and Priscilla saw each other for the first time at a party in Bad Nauheim, Germany. Priscilla, who went to the event with her parents, was quickly smitten by the singer's charm. Elvis, on the other hand, liked how pretty and innocent Priscilla looked when she was young. Elvis showed Priscilla a lot of love and care during their courtship, which lasted several years. Not only did Elvis like Priscilla's looks, he also saw a similarity between her and his late mother, Gladys, who he loved very much and who had recently died. Elvis liked Priscilla because she was young and had not been with a man before. He wanted to make her into the perfect partner. His friend once heard him say, "She's young enough that I can train her any way I want." She loved being with Elvis. It was like a dream come true. She jumped into his world, wanting to make him happy and fit in with his fancy way of life. It was a different time, Priscilla said in retrospect. I lived in his world. I wished to make him happy. I aimed to blend in. It was fun for me to be with him. It was my goal to find out what he liked. Elvis and Priscilla finally got married on May 1st, 1967, at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. They had been dating for a long time and had several visits together. Elvis was 32 years old, while Priscilla was only 21. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, wanted them to get married because he thought it would make the singer look better in public. They were very happy and in love at the beginning of their marriage. Elvis's famous home in Memphis, Tennessee, called Graceland, was where he and Priscilla lived. They made a safe and caring place for each other by being around family and friends. Elvis loved Priscilla very much because he gave her lots of love and attention, even as his business was going through the roof. Lisa Marie Presley was born to Elvis and Priscilla Presley in February 1968. She was their only child, and when their daughter was born, they became even closer. Elvis loved his little girl very much. Having his family around him made him a happy father who loved every moment. Lisa Marie grew up in the spotlight because her famous father was all around her. Her musical skills came from her father, and she followed in his ways and had a successful career in the music industry. Even though being famous made things hard for them, Elvis and Priscilla worked together to give their daughter a loving and safe home life. People are still fascinated by the love story between Elvis and Priscilla Presley. Many books, films, and movies have been made about their relationship, with all of its ups and downs. Even though things were hard for them, they stayed close, and they stayed friends even after they got divorced in 1973. Priscilla and Lisa Marie were heartbroken when Elvis died too soon. Since then, Priscilla has made it her mission to protect her ex-husband's legacy by making sure that his songs and influence on pop culture will continue to inspire people for years to come. The love story of Elvis and Priscilla shows how strong love can be and how strong people can be. Even though their relationship is complicated, it shows that true love can last through hard times. The love story of Elvis and Priscilla Presley, while filled with romance and passion, was not without its struggles. As they dealt with the complicated aspects of fame, their relationship faced numerous challenges that would ultimately test their bond. From the pressures of public scrutiny to the demands of Elvis's career, their journey together was marked by both joy and heartache. As the king of rock and roll, he was constantly in the public eye, with fans and media scrutinizing every aspect of his life. This relentless spotlight created a strain on his marriage to Priscilla. While she initially embraced the glamorous lifestyle that came with being Elvis's wife, the reality of constant scrutiny began to weigh heavily on her. Priscilla often found herself feeling isolated and lonely. While Elvis was off touring or filming movies, she remained at Graceland, surrounded by luxury but lacking meaningful companionship. The distance created emotional gaps between them that were difficult to bridge. While Elvis enjoyed the thrill of performing for adoring fans, Priscilla felt increasingly disconnected from him. The glamorous parties and social events that once excited her became a source of anxiety as she grappled with her identity in a world dominated by her husband's fame. To cope with her feelings of inadequacy and isolation, Priscilla sought ways to empower herself. She took up karate, finding strength in physical fitness and discipline. This newfound confidence allowed her to reclaim some autonomy in her life. She also began exploring business opportunities, eventually launching her own line of cosmetics. These pursuits were not just hobbies. They represented her desire to establish an identity separate from being Mrs. Elvis Presley. The couple's communication suffered during these times apart. Elvis would often call home during his tours, but those conversations were rarely enough to fill the void left by his absence. Priscilla longed for deeper emotional intimacy, but found it increasingly difficult to connect with her husband as he became more consumed by his fame. The media's fascination with their relationship added another layer of pressure. Reporters frequently speculated about their marriage, often sensationalizing their struggles for headlines. Priscilla found herself under constant scrutiny, with tabloids dissecting every detail of her life, her appearance, her parenting style, and even her relationship with Elvis. This invasive attention took a toll on Priscilla's mental health. She felt trapped in a gilded cage where every move was watched and judged. The pressure intensified as rumors circulated about Elvis's infidelities, stories that only fueled her feelings of neglect and loneliness. As the years went by, both Elvis and Priscilla began to realize that they were growing apart. Despite their struggles, Priscilla remained committed to making their marriage work. However, she also recognized the need for personal fulfillment outside of their relationship. In the early 1970s, Priscilla embarked on an affair with her karate instructor, Mike Stone. This relationship marked a turning point for her, a moment where she sought solace outside of her marriage as she navigated feelings of unfulfillment and loneliness. It was during this time that she began contemplating what life would look like if she chose to prioritize her own needs over those dictated by her role as Elvis's wife. Priscilla's journey towards self-discovery was not easy. It required confronting difficult truths about herself and her marriage. She realized that while she loved Elvis deeply, he was still the love of my life. She needed to find out who she was outside of his shadow. This realization led her down a path toward independence as she began carving out a life for herself that included personal goals and ambitions. Her decision to pursue divorce was not made lightly. It came after years of introspection and growth. Priscilla understood that leaving would not diminish the love they shared, but rather allow both of them to explore new possibilities for happiness, individually. Their story is one marked by love, an enduring bond that shaped both their lives long after they said goodbye as husband and wife. The death of Elvis Presley on August 16, 1977, sent shockwaves through his family, leaving an indelible mark on the lives of those who loved him, especially his father, Vernon Presley. At the age of 42, Elvis was not only a music icon, but also a beloved son, and his passing plunged Vernon into a deep emotional abyss. Vernon had always been more than just Elvis's father. He was his confidant and manager. Vernon had dedicated his life to supporting Elvis's career, and now he faced the unbearable reality of living without him. Witnesses described Vernon as inconsolable, often seen sobbing and grieving in the days following Elvis's death. Elvis's struggles with substance abuse were well documented and had escalated over the years. The pressures of fame led him to rely on prescription medications to cope with anxiety, insomnia, and the demands of his career. Unfortunately, these drugs contributed significantly to his declining health and ultimately his untimely death. In June 1979, just 2 years after Elvis's death, Vernon succumbed to a heart attack, a tragic end that many believed was brought on by the heartbreak of losing his son. His passing marked the end of an era for the Presley family, leaving behind a legacy filled with both incredible achievements and profound loss. So this was all about the perspective of the father of the king of pop, Elvis Presley. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos.
Plane going back to Memphis and feeling such anger, you know, feeling so many emotions of, how could you do this? You know, how could you do this? How could you leave us? How could you promised, you know, it's just something you never feel that was ever going to happen to him.
How complicated media could make the life of celebrities can be understood through the relationship of Elvis Presley and Priscilla Presley. Yes, the media played a crucial role in their separation. This is the one revelation that Priscilla made. There are many more revelations in this video that are opened by the wife of the king of rock and roll. So let's watch it out. Priscilla Presley, a name that resonates with glamour and history, was born on May 24, 1945 in Brooklyn, New York. Her early life was shaped by a mix of family dynamics and significant events that would later influence her journey into fame. Priscilla was born Priscilla Ann Wagner to James Wagner, a U.S. Navy pilot, and Anne Wagner, a homemaker. Tragically, her father died in a plane crash when Priscilla was just a few months old, leaving her mother to raise her alone. In 1948, Anne remarried Paul Beaulieu, an Air Force officer, and the family moved frequently due to his military career. This constant relocation exposed Priscilla to various cultures and lifestyles, fostering adaptability and resilience in her character. Growing up in a military family meant that Priscilla experienced a childhood filled with transitions. She attended several schools during her formative years, which included local institutions in Brooklyn and later in West Germany, when her stepfather was stationed there. Despite the challenges of moving often, she thrived in creative subjects at school and developed a passion for the performing arts early on. Priscilla's hobbies included dance and cheerleading. She participated in school plays that ignited her love for acting and performance. Her creativity flourished as she engaged in various extracurricular activities, allowing her to express herself and build lasting friendships. In 1960, the family made another significant move to Memphis, Tennessee, due to her stepfather's job transfer. This transition proved pivotal for Priscilla, as Memphis was a vibrant hub for music and culture. The city's lively atmosphere introduced her to new musical influences that would later play a crucial role in her life. At just 14 years old, Priscilla met the legendary Elvis Presley at a party while he was stationed in Germany with the U.S. Army. Although he was 24 at the time, their connection was immediate. This meeting marked the beginning of an intense relationship that would profoundly impact both their lives. As they began dating, Priscilla's world changed dramatically. She moved to Graceland with Elvis's family after graduating high school, living separately from him to maintain propriety. During this time, she developed her iconic style under Elvis's influence, which included his guidance on fashion and beauty. Priscilla Presley's early life is a tapestry woven with threads of resilience, creativity, and unexpected romance. From her humble beginnings in Brooklyn to the musical heart of Memphis and ultimately into the arms of Elvis Presley, each chapter laid the groundwork for her future as an actress and businesswoman. Her experiences during these formative years shaped not only her identity, but also set the stage for the remarkable journey ahead, a journey that would see her become a cultural icon in her own right. Priscilla Presley's story is about love, fame, and how two very different lives become entangled. When she first met Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, it was like something out of a fairy tale, full of adventure and difficulties. If you were in the U.S. Army in Germany in 1959, you would have seen Elvis Presley as a rising star. He was born on January 8, 1935, in Tupelo, Mississippi. By the time he was drafted, he was a famous figure. Millions of people loved his unique style of rockabilly, which is a mix of country music and rhythm and blues. People loved Elvis because he was good-looking, had a powerful voice, and was magnetic on stage. He had already had a lot of success with songs like Heartbreak Hotel and flicks like Love Me Tender. Priscilla met Elvis for the first time at a party for soldiers at his home in Germany. Elvis was 24 years old and she was only 14. Even though they were not the same age, there was a spark between them that couldn't be denied. Elvis's confidence and charm drew Priscilla in. He had an aura that made everyone feel special. Priscilla, on the other hand, had a pure beauty that Elvis liked. He was charmed by her young spirit and grace. Not only did Priscilla like Elvis because of his fame, but she also liked him because he was honest with her when they were together. He was kind and respectful to her, which made her feel important in a world where most people only saw him as a star. She admired how much he loved music and performing. He wasn't just a performer. He put his whole heart into every song. Elvis liked how Priscilla made him feel. In a world full of fans who often focused on how famous he was, she stood for something pure and unaffected by fame. He liked how smart she was and how mature she was for her age. They became closer because they liked the same things, like music and art, and wanted to be with someone while their lives were crazy. As their friendship turned into love, Elvis continued to show Priscilla a lot of love. He often invited her to his house in Germany, where they could be alone and spend time together. Before they started dating, she was still a girl living with her parents, which was not the norm. But Elvis made it clear that he wanted to be with her. While this was going on, Elvis was kind and protective to Priscilla. He brought her into his world while keeping her grounded because he wanted her to feel safe and loved. They had private times together where they chatted and dreamed about the future, but as their relationship got more serious, problems started to show up. Before they got married in 1967, Priscilla's life was full of both fun and unknown things. After Elvis got out of the military in 1960, she went back to Memphis from Germany. The change was big. She left her family and friends behind to become a part of Elvis's world at Graceland, a house that became associated with both glitz and loneliness. There were some hard times for Priscilla when she lived at Graceland. Being with one of the most famous men in the world gave her a lot of nice things, but Elvis's busy job made her feel lonely a lot of the time. He was often on trips or making films, so she had to handle life in the spotlight by herself. Even though she was lonely, Priscilla stayed true to him. Priscilla worked on becoming a person outside of being Elvis's girlfriend during this time. It was during these dance classes and efforts to find her own style that she became known to the public and had an impact on fashion in the 1960s. The love between Priscilla and Elvis grew stronger over time. They talked in private about their hopes and fears. Both of them were figuring out how to deal with fame at such young times. Their relationship had its ups and downs. Elvis's busy schedule and the stress of fame sometimes made them emotionally distant, but they always found a way to get back together. Priscilla often thought about how much she had learned from Elvis when they were young. He taught her about love, trust, and how to keep going when things get hard. Because their lives were always moving quickly because Elvis's fans were clamoring for his attention, they made time for themselves to be open and honest. Priscilla Presley's life before she got married was a mix of excitement and emotional turmoil as she fell in love with one of the most famous people in history. She went from being a young girl who was interested in a star to becoming a woman who was deeply involved with his life. It was full of rich experiences that shaped who she would become. Even though they were getting ready to get married, both of them were going through personal problems that would put their relationship to the test even more. But their love story kept going. It was full of emotion, devotion, and the challenges of living in the public eye. It would only get more interesting after they said, "I do." The love story of Elvis and Priscilla Presley is a story filled with romance, passion, and the complexities of life in the public eye. Their journey from young lovers to a married couple was marked by both joy and challenges, ultimately shaping their lives in profound ways. After meeting in Germany in 1959, Elvis and Priscilla's relationship blossomed over the years. They formed a deep bond. Their romance began with letters and phone calls when Elvis returned to the United States, maintaining their connection across the distance. In 1962, Priscilla was invited to spend Christmas with Elvis at Graceland, solidifying their relationship further. Priscilla often described her feelings for Elvis as a mix of admiration and infatuation. She was captivated by his charm, charisma, and artistic talent. For Elvis, Priscilla represented youth and innocence. He appreciated her maturity beyond her years and found comfort in her presence. He molded her into his ideal partner. She adopted his style, from her hair to her clothing, becoming what she later described as his living doll. This dynamic created a unique bond between them, one that was both nurturing and controlling. As their relationship deepened, the pressure of their public personas loomed large. By late 1966, after several years together, Elvis proposed to Priscilla during a quiet evening at Graceland. He presented her with a stunning 3.5-carat diamond ring, marking a significant moment in their lives. Although there were discussions about living together without marriage, common at the time, Elvis felt compelled to marry due to societal expectations and the influence of his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. Priscilla reflected on this moment fondly, but also acknowledged the complexities surrounding it. She had always envisioned a romantic wedding, but understood that their lives were intertwined with media scrutiny and public interest. On May 1st, 1967, Elvis and Priscilla tied the knot in a private ceremony at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. The wedding was brief, lasting only 8 minutes, and attended by just 14 close friends and family members. It was arranged primarily for publicity purposes by Colonel Parker, who wanted to ensure that their union would attract media attention while keeping it somewhat intimate. Priscilla wore a simple yet elegant beaded chiffon gown, which she purchased off the rack in disguise to avoid drawing attention. The couple celebrated with a lavish reception that followed, a champagne breakfast attended by around 100 guests. The day was filled with joy, but also marked by the pressures of fame. They were aware that their love story was under constant watch. After the ceremony, Elvis carried Priscilla over the threshold of their home while singing the Hawaiian wedding song. This moment symbolized not just their love, but also the beginning of their life together as husband and wife. 9 months later, on February 1st, 1968, their daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, was born. The arrival of their child brought immense joy to both parents. Priscilla recalled cradling Lisa Marie for the first time and feeling overwhelmed with love. Elvis shared in this joy, but also felt apprehensive about fatherhood and how it would affect his career. As new parents, they navigated the challenges of balancing family life with Elvis's demanding schedule. While Lisa Marie brought happiness into their lives, it also highlighted some underlying tensions in their marriage. As Priscilla adjusted to motherhood, she noticed changes in how Elvis treated her. He seemed uncertain about his role as a father and husband. Living at Graceland, the iconic mansion that became synonymous with Elvis's legacy, was both a dream come true and a source of isolation for Priscilla. While she loved the grandeur of Graceland and enjoyed moments spent there with Elvis and Lisa Marie, she often felt lonely when he was away on tours or filming projects. Priscilla dedicated herself to creating a warm home for her family, but struggled with feelings of neglect as Elvis's career took precedence over their personal lives. She often found herself alone at Graceland while he pursued his passions, a situation that led to feelings of restlessness and longing for a deeper connection. Despite their love for each other, the pressures of fame began to strain their relationship. As Elvis's star continued to rise, so did his interactions with other women, a reality that left Priscilla feeling insecure and anxious about her place in his life. She later reflected on how difficult it was to cope with the constant attention he received from admirers. In an attempt to fill the emotional void created by Elvis's absences, Priscilla sought companionship outside of her marriage. She began taking karate lessons from Mike Stone, a decision that would lead to an affair during a particularly tumultuous period in their relationship. This affair opened her eyes to what she truly needed from her marriage: emotional support and intimacy that seemed increasingly elusive. The media played an undeniable role in shaping Elvis and Priscilla's lives together. They were constantly under scrutiny. Every aspect of their relationship, from their wedding to parenting, was fodder for tabloids and news outlets. This attention added pressure on both individuals as they tried to navigate personal challenges while maintaining public personas. Priscilla often felt trapped by this relentless spotlight. She struggled between wanting to be supportive of Elvis's career while also desiring privacy for her family life. The media's portrayal often focused on sensational aspects rather than capturing the reality of their struggles as a couple trying to build a life together amidst chaos. As time went on, Priscilla realized that her identity had become intertwined with Elvis's fame. She was often seen merely as Mrs. Elvis Presley. This loss of self became increasingly apparent as she grappled with feelings of isolation within her marriage. She yearned for independence, but felt anchored by the expectations placed upon her as Elvis's wife. Despite these challenges, there were moments filled with love and connection between them. Shared laughter during quiet evenings at Graceland, or tender moments spent with Lisa Marie, brought joy amid the turmoil. However, as they continued down this path together, it became clear that both would need to confront significant changes if they hoped to sustain their relationship long term. The love story between Elvis and Priscilla Presley is one marked by passion, complexity, and heartache, a reflection of two individuals navigating fame while striving for personal fulfillment. Their marriage brought both happiness and challenges that shaped not only their lives, but also left an indelible mark on popular culture. As they faced obstacles together, both external pressures from media scrutiny and internal struggles within themselves, their journey continued to evolve into something neither could have anticipated when they first met all those years ago in Germany. Elvis Presley's meteoric rise to fame was both a blessing and a curse for his personal life. As he became one of the most recognizable figures in music history, the demands of his career intensified. Tours, recording sessions, and film shoots consumed much of his time, leaving little room for intimacy or connection with Priscilla. The once joyful moments they shared began to dwindle as Elvis became increasingly absorbed in his work. Priscilla often felt like a shadow in her own marriage, struggling with feelings of loneliness and isolation at Graceland. While she adored Elvis and supported his career, the constant absence of her husband created a significant emotional distance between them. She found herself yearning for the deep connection they once had, But the pressures of fame made it difficult for Elvis to provide the emotional support she needed. As Elvis's fame grew, so did the stress in their marriage. Priscilla faced immense pressure from being married to a superstar. The media scrutinized every aspect of their lives, often portraying them in sensationalized ways that added strain to their relationship. The couple found it increasingly challenging to maintain a sense of normalcy amid the chaos surrounding them. Elvis's increasing reliance on drugs to cope with the pressures of his career further complicated matters. He turned to prescription medications to manage anxiety and maintain his energy levels during grueling schedules. This addiction not only affected his health, but also strained their relationship. Priscilla witnessed firsthand the toll that drugs took on Elvis. His mood swings, erratic behavior, and emotional detachment left her feeling helpless. The turning point in their relationship came in February 1972, when Priscilla made the difficult decision to leave Elvis. The emotional distance had become unbearable. She felt trapped in a life that no longer brought her joy or fulfillment. After years of enduring loneliness and witnessing Elvis's struggles with addiction, she knew it was time to prioritize her own well-being. In an emotionally charged moment, Priscilla confronted Elvis about their deteriorating marriage. She expressed her feelings of neglect and despair, stating that she needed to find herself outside of being Mrs. Elvis Presley. This conversation marked a pivotal moment in their lives. It was not just about separation, but about reclaiming individuality in a relationship overshadowed by fame. Elvis's reaction was complex. He was devastated by her decision, but also aware that he had contributed to their struggles through his choices and lifestyle. Despite his pleas for her to stay, Priscilla felt resolute in her decision. Their separation was not just an end, but also a painful acknowledgement of how far they had drifted apart. The divorce was finalized in October 1973, yet it was not an easy process for either party. They remained emotionally connected despite the legal dissolution of their marriage. Both still loved each other deeply, but recognized that they needed to forge separate paths for their own happiness. Elvis's drug addiction worsened following Priscilla's departure. Struggling with feelings of abandonment and loss, he turned increasingly to substances as a means of escape from his pain. The vibrant man who had once captivated audiences, began to fade into a shadow of himself. His health deteriorated rapidly as he battled both physical and emotional demons. Priscilla watched from afar as Elvis spiraled deeper into addiction, feeling a mix of sorrow and helplessness. Despite their separation, she cared deeply for him. She understood that behind the glitz and glamour lay a man grappling with profound loneliness and insecurity. The media continued to portray him as a larger-than-life figure, while ignoring the struggles he faced behind closed doors. In her memoir, Priscilla recounted moments when she felt compelled to reach out to him during this tumultuous time. She wanted nothing more than for him to find peace and happiness. However, she also recognized that he needed to confront his demons on his own terms. The impact of Elvis's career on his relationship with Priscilla was profound and multifaceted. Their love story transformed from one filled with passion and dreams into a narrative marked by stress, distance, and ultimately separation. As they navigated the complexities of fame and personal struggles, both faced heart-wrenching choices that would define their lives moving forward. The love they shared may have changed form over time, but its essence remained. A bond forged through shared experiences that would forever connect them, despite life's challenges. In the wake of Elvis's death in 1977, Priscilla faced the daunting task of managing Graceland and ensuring that his legacy lived on. She took charge of Elvis Presley Enterprises, transforming Graceland into a profitable tourist attraction. Priscilla's vision and determination turned the estate into a multi-million-dollar business, allowing her to secure a future for herself and their daughter, Lisa Marie. Priscilla also pursued acting, appearing in popular television shows like Dallas, where she played Jenna Wade from 1983 to 1988. She also starred in the Naked Gun film series, which further endeared her to audiences and highlighted her comedic talent. Priscilla also launched her own beauty company, creating fragrances that resonated with fans and consumers alike. This entrepreneurial spirit marked a significant shift in her life as she moved from being defined by her relationship with Elvis to becoming a successful businesswoman in her own right. Throughout their marriage, rumors circulated about both Priscilla and Elvis having affairs. These speculations added strain to their relationship, but were often fueled by the intense media scrutiny surrounding them. She expressed how difficult it was to navigate life under the shadow of Elvis's fame, often feeling like she was losing herself in the process. Priscilla's revelations about their relationship provided insight into the complexities of their marriage, how love intertwined with jealousy and insecurity created an emotional battleground that neither fully understood at the time. So this was the complicated ups and downs of Priscilla Presley. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.